Man, what is happening, my YouTube family? Of course, it is your boy B New coming at you on this Thursday morning. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you all so much for your positive words of encouragement. It means a lot to me, and equally so, I want to send out positive vibrations and blessings to all of you who may be listening or watching right now. But anyway, we got some interesting things to cover on this morning show. There's a lot of things we can hit on. So first and foremost, we all know that we dug a little bit deeper into the playoffs on yesterday as we advanced towards the finals to see who will be crowned as the NBA champion this year. And on yesterday, it was announced that the Phoenix Suns, they've been maxing and relaxing after their sweep of Denver. And I don't know if you all saw that video. Suns in 4. If you ain't saw that video, check that out. But I'm gonna have to do a reaction to that. But anyway, Chris Paul, it said that he has to enter COVID protocol. So I'm hoping that this series between Utah, and the Clippers can go out a little bit longer, maybe to Game 7, to allow Chris to get healthy. And if he has had the vaccination, then I know the protocol is a little bit different. He can come back a lot quicker, and maybe he can be back for Game 1 or Game 2. Now, as we all know, Chris Paul had some issues in that first round with his shoulder. And of course, Campaign and others filled in and stepped in and did a great job when Chris Paul was not playing during that series and points in which he was injured. So with all that being said, we do wish a speedy recovery to Chris Paul. And then, of course, it was announced that Kawhi Leonard also had a knee injury that he suffered towards the end of the game in the last game versus Utah. And we'll get more into the Clippers game here in just a moment, but that news was devastating to the Clippers, and it led one Lebron James to tweet out a message on Instagram and on Twitter, just stating he knew it was a bad move with the condensed season and starting it right back up, and that players' bodies hadn't had a chance to heal and rest up and things of that nature. And of course, he was subject to a slew of insults from a lot of haters. But what they don't realize is LeBron James is only advocating for the best interest and health of the players, which is ultimately going to provide a better product on the court for us all to enjoy. And him being a fan of the game as well, of course he wants to see it, but of course you got all these haters and stuff like that just saying, LeBron need to be quiet and that's why he at home or whatever. But at the end of the day, you have to give some admiration to LeBron James for once again speaking up and being the voice of the players, as always. And people are saying he wasn't saying this at the beginning of the season, when quite frankly I beg to differ, and I can pull some articles up and show you where LeBron James did say that he was against it, but of course he was going to suit up and not miss any games. And he was the one who was actually prepared for it, because you saw how his body was and the way he was performing and was in the MVP conversation. But ultimately, somebody rolled into his leg, which was a freak accident, causing him to be injured throughout the rest of the season too, as we all know. But one thing we did want to point out about LeBron James, while I'm talking about him, is LeBron James, now speaking of MVP, is the only player in the history of the league who has received MVP votes in 18 seasons, which is remarkable. So that means he was getting MVP votes since he's been in the league. Kareem was in the league 20 years, and he got MVP votes for 17 out of those 20 years, which is a major accomplishment as well. MJ was in the league 15 years, and we all know he got 13 out of 15. And of course, those 2 Wizard years, he did not get them. But that shows you how great of a player MJ was too, because in the span of those 13 years that he did play, even though he did have a break in between, he played baseball too, which, it's not as hard on your body. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. LeBron James, Kobe, out of the 20 years he played, only had 13 years which he received MVP votes, and Wilt played 14 years and had 11. So those are the most years that any player have had MVP votes. So shout out to LeBron James, 18 years in the league and 18 years receiving MVP votes, which means that he's still in a damn good shape. And Reggie Miller did the other day still say that LeBron James was the best player in basketball because of his ability to get others involved in all the things he can do. He said he's going to roll with the healthy LeBron James every time. And who can blame him? We such a society now that's built on what have you done for me lately, and you got a real short memory. So, you know, the Lakers will be back next year, and if Anthony Davis can get healthy, let's remember what they were doing to the Phoenix Suns. And you saw what the Phoenix Suns just did to the Denver Nuggets. So before AD went down, we saw what was going on. But at the end of the day, the Lakers do need to get better in some areas, especially if they're going to compete with a team like Brooklyn, if Brooklyn was fully healthy. And we'll get to that matchup for this evening in just a moment. But speaking of the game on last night, I don't know, as far as Paul George, I just feel like he didn't have anything to lose. So when they came into the game, they were not expected to win because Kawhi Leonard, you know, and that probably had Utah licking their chops thinking, oh man, we got this, no Kawhi. We easily about to go out here and take care of business. But ultimately, Paul George pulled off what Kevin Durant pulled off the other day by putting a team on his back and going out and having an outstanding performance that he had. But he had the same way Kevin Durant had Jeff Green the other night pull him through with the help, because you're going to need some kind of help. I mean, I don't care if you get 50, the others still got to get you 50 more. So at the end of the day, Jeff Green stepped up the other day to help Kevin Durant, and Reggie Jackson was fabulous last night to step up and really hit timely threes time after time. Anytime Utah thought that they were going to close the gap and get a little bit closer. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell everybody right now, if you put your money on Utah to win the series before the series like I did, you might be sweating right now. But who can say with injuries, because the way Donovan Mitchell at the end of game 2, I don't know if y'all remember, but that dumb foul with like 15, 20 seconds left just made no sense, where he re-aggravated that ankle, and he was very, very upset at the end of the game. So if you got it on DVR, go back and watch that. But you could tell that ankle is really bad and hindering him. I mean, he shot 4 out of 14 from 3. And you know that's just not even Donovan Mitchell. And there was times when he was shooting the 3, and then he was landing on one foot and hobbling. So when you talk about an injured Donovan Mitchell, I mean, all the others in Utah are set up to hit threes, but they really not set up to create their own shot. Joey Clarkson can create his own shot off the bench, but the others can't. Bogdanovich, he can't. Ingles, not really. They more spot-up shooters. Now, what Ty Lue doing is very smart by going small and playing Batum and not playing the Zubac and spreading the floor, because Batum is very capable of hitting that 3. So now what you have is Rudy Gobert, the defensive player of the year, running around here like a chicken with his head cut off, in some instances not knowing what to do, even though he is capable of being a rim protector once a smaller player gets towards the rim, because he has great footwork. But once they're swinging the ball, especially to a Batum who is on the outside, he's forced to come outside, because you're not going to leave Batum wide open. So when he's forced to come outside, then that's leaving other cuts for other players to make, and the extra pass to make easy 3-point shots, and that's what they are doing. So shouts out to my guy Ty Lue for making these adjustments, and they've won 3 in a row now. But I would say if Donovan Mitchell, and of course Mike Conley was fully healthy, that would not be the case, because I was thinking Mike Conley was going to be available at some point in the series. He said he tried to come back game 3 and had a setback, which is not good, because if you had a setback coming back, then that means it's re-aggravated and you just might not be available at all. And anybody know, if you have a pulled hammy, there's nothing much you can do. I hope Mike Conley, I need to maybe send him a DM on Instagram and tell him to try the black seed oil, because it's very amazing as far as taking the inflammation out of your muscles and tendons and things of that nature. But I just hate that it's not a full series, and that's echoing the sentiment of a one LeBron James, because if you think about it, Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell hurt during this series, and Kawhi. I mean, it's still being a hell of a series and it's entertaining, but imagine if they were full strength. Now you're really talking. But ultimately, it's not going to be the case. And if Kawhi has a sprained MCL or whatever in his knee, I doubt he's going to come back at all this season. And who really wants to see a one-man show of Paul George taking on Brooklyn? Kyrie's ankle looked like it could have been a high sprain, so you don't know if he's going to be available by the finals, depending on how long this series goes with Atlanta and Philly, and how long the next series would go if Brooklyn were to advance. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But about Philly, we definitely got to talk about Philly. I mean, who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? Now, I'm not even going to lie, y'all. When Philly was up by so much, I had some business I need to run and take care of. By the time I got back to the house, what I saw was basically an Atlanta team just marching and walking the Philadelphia 76ers down. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what is going on? And I kind of saw it, that the way they were so stagnant on offense, that nothing really, that they were not going to win the game. Because if you're standing around and there's no movement and nobody's having confidence to make any shots, then you know what's about to happen. And they totally taking the crowd out of the game. And the thing about it is, I got to come down on that Philly crowd because, you know, in the M-Town, no matter what, you know, in Golden State, no matter what, and I mean, in so many places around the league, no matter what, you know, your team go down, you still want to give them everything. You want to try to lift them back up, encourage them. Man, y'all booed your own team straight out the stadium. So when you was doing all this booing at the end and Embiid missed these free throws and y'all doing all this booing, you think that's going to make them go out and feel better? I keep telling y'all, vibrations and energy is a lot. And a lot of people, that's why teams feed off the crowd. If it wasn't so, then people wouldn't have home court and home field advantages. So people feed off of that. And at the end of the day, that was just some real negative energy that the Philadelphia fans were doing. And Philly fans known for that. I'm just going to be real with it. You know, even Eagles fans, you know, I've never been to a Philly game, but I've heard a lot of stories, but I won't dwell on that. But I wish they would have did more to kind of motivate their team, because Philly has to go back down to ATL, and Atlanta going to be real high. Matter of fact, I might take me a trip down to Atlanta here for this game. I might just need to do that, and we'll see how that goes down, because they're going to be ready to erupt. Do you know how long it's been since Atlanta had success in the playoffs? Even the year when they had a 60-win team and went on that 23-game win streak years ago with Trey Teague and everybody else, they met up against LeBron James, and we know what happened. I believe it was a sweep, if I'm not mistaken, but might have been 4-1. But at the end of the day, Philadelphia had no excuse. I know a lot of people are going to blame Doc Rivers, but at the end of the day, why do you have a guard in Ben Simmons who cannot shoot free throws? Ben Simmons has the second worst free throw percentage in the history of the NBA in the playoff series. The only person who done shot worse than him is Ben Wallace and DeAndre Jordan, who are two of the worst free throw shooters of all time. Ben Wallace and DeAndre Jordan. And Ben Wallace shot 27% one time in the series, and DeAndre Jordan shot 37% in the series. And here Ben Simmons is shooting, 29% in the series? The first guard to ever miss 10 free throws in a game in the playoffs. You're not a center. You're not Shaq. Like, bro, get your ass in the gym. Everybody talk about defense this, defense that. I'm just going to tell you, I've never been a fan of Ben Simmons. I've never been a fan of him. Never been a fan of his game. I know he plays defense, blah, blah, blah. But come on, man. Come on. If you want success in Philadelphia, you're going to have to end up trading him and try to get you back some people who can play some, you know, a little bit of 3-and-D, maybe some shooters to help surround Joel Embiid, who's very capable of getting others involved as far as being a big man and making the necessary passes when the double team is drawn to him. But at the end of the day, if I had to pick, I think Atlanta is going to show out, and they're going to do the damn thing against Philadelphia. And I just feel like they done hit them where it hurt. And Doc Rivers, I mean, Paul George said it, and everybody didn't want to believe it. You know, Doc Rivers is a great motivator. He's a great talker, throughout the game to get you motivated and get you to help and get you fired up or whatever. His X's and O's or his strategy may not always be the best. When you got a 6'11" Ben Simmons, and what's the guard name for Atlanta? It's not Bogdanovich, but back. You know what I'm talking about. Same thing. He's 6'6", bro. Why are you not backing him down? Why are you not posting him up? Doc, can you call that play? Because I want to say Ben Simmons only had 8 points and then barely even attempt any shots. So I'm just trying to figure out what is going on with that, Doc. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with that. But we're not going to place the whole blame on Doc Rivers, because if Ben Simmons can miss all them damn free throws, then that's who we got to place the blame on. Because if he makes those free throws, then that stops the comeback, and, you know, Philadelphia wins the game. But I'm just going to be honest with you. The way Trae Young and company is playing, and then with Lou Williams, I mean, Gallinari playing exceptionally well. Capella is holding his own. Hey, Atlanta might be that team to look out for. And the thing about it is, they showing no fear. No fear. They are showing no fear. And everybody want to, you know, even the other day when Embiid went 0 for 12. That was the first time in a playoff series that somebody went 0 for 12. Do you know the last time somebody went 0 for 12 in a half of a playoff series? Yes, it was Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan in '97 in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Heat. Yes, it was old Jordan. So don't act like people cannot have a bad game, you know, and don't let one bad game or bad series define a player or their legacy or their era, because that just is what it is. But in other news and notes, Van Gundy was fired on yesterday from the New Orleans Pelicans, which didn't come as a big surprise to me because he ruffled a lot of the players' feathers, and maybe his old school style of coaching just wasn't working. And to be quite honest with you, with the talent that was on their roster, I feel like they could have made a run and did a little bit better. Because if you look at their roster and you look at the roster that of the Memphis Grizzlies, you know, taking nothing away from Ja Morant and Dylan Brooks and company, but I'm just gonna tell you, they should have had a playoff spot, or at least been in better contention for one towards the end, and they simply were not. So doesn't surprise me. Stan Van Gundy, his stint, I think, in the NBA is now over. He's bounced around. Sorry, y'all. Oh my goodness, these allergies. But at the end of the day, Van Gundy's gone. I don't think he'll be coming back. And then one last news and note: if you are an LA Lakers fan, Andre Drummond had posted something on Instagram, and a fan. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. And a fan said that, are you going to sign for that minimum? And Andre Drummond said, boy, you drunk. So we all now know, and that rumor that they want him to sign for the minimum, I believe to be true, because nobody's going to pay him that much of a salary. And the Lakers see, and their front office is smart enough to know, and that's the reason why they brought in Marcus Allen to begin with, is because they wanted a player who could stretch the floor for the Lakers. And the Lakers were very successful with Marcus Allen. I'm not saying he's the answer, but he's still under contract for not that much money. So maybe they can go out and still find a center who can stretch the floor, you know, or a younger center too, that you don't have to pay as much money to, because where they need to spend that money, because I don't think Dennis Schroeder is going to be back. I don't think Drummond is going to be back. I think they're going to do their best to bring back THT. They do have his bird rights. That's something we could talk about on another show. And I do apologize for not getting into the matchup tonight between Brooklyn and Milwaukee. What I will say is this: I don't expect Jeff Green to go 7 out of 7. I don't expect Harden's hamstring to be that much better. I do expect a raucous crowd at Milwaukee. I do expect Kevin Durant to still go ham once again. But with all that being said, I do think the Bucks are going to pull this game out and force a Game 7. That'll be great for the association and be great for us, the fans. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow. I hope everybody enjoyed the game tonight and enjoy the rest of your day. And like I said, appreciate all the positive blessings. And as always, right on to the real, and much love to the haters.